I greet you, welcome one more time. Accentuate the positive, but eliminate the negative. That's our maxim on Enterprise TV. And on Homo Politicus, we eliminate the man in between. What do I mean? We go straight to the brass tacks, look at the issues we're faced with. Today, petrol queues resurface in Lagos, and panic buying aggravates situation. You know, one mind-bending element in our being is a propensity for suffering in the midst of plenty. Despite the abundant natural blessings in our country, we elect to struggle to meet ends, and for that matter, live beggarly lives. It tells me about a lack of love for humanity in this environment. How does one explain long queues at petrol stations around the Lagos metropolis? As always, a babble of incoherent summonses, incomprehensible reasons are adduced for the silliness. The company responsible for harnessing our oil and gas reserves, the NNPCL, says the tight supply witnessed at some fuel stations in Lagos was as a result of an issue at one of the depots in the area. What this issue is remains a matter of conjecture. Are we ever going to come to grips with our power problems? Let's have a discussion. And today I have two gentlemen who should know. Let's meet and greet them. Opeoluwa Taiwo is a human resource expert and a public affairs analyst. Opeoluwa, I greet you.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here today.
Yeah, we are joined also by Barrister Evans Ufeli, a constitutional attorney and a political commentator. Welcome.
Thank you. Good day.
Yeah, fuel queues, petrol queues, if you like, resurface in Lagos. Are we surprised here?
Yeah. Should we be surprised? I mean, we have been treading on this Flemish road for a long time, where everything seems to be withered. The fuel queues we find every year in, year out, sometimes quarterly and sometimes
seasonally.
Yeah, seasonally. We find this, and this fuel queue is like taking a poisonous leaf to a purification feast. The contradiction itself is one that boggles the mind. That you have yam and you go outside to buy pounded yam. It shows a lack of tact, a lack of consistency, and a lack of strategy. Sometimes they will tell you that the marketers are the ones responsible. Later on, you hear that NNPC have a shortfall or a shortage. Other times, they will tell you that it is a queue at their papa port. You know, the congestion at their papa port, they're unable to take it out. And then you have, so the stories are just all over the place. In the mix of that contradiction, you have the federal government chasing the illegal refineries, the operators of modular refineries or illegal refineries, which is supposed to be the answer to scarcity, if you ask me. If it is properly...
Even if short term.
Yes, if it's properly harnessed and license given to them, allow them to operate legally, supposed to be to make it even cost effective, and then to reduce the cost itself, the availability also. But here, there is no way we'll be importing premium motorsports.
But that's not glossing over quality.
Over quality. Well, if you, of course, the regulators will still be there. It's because these guys hide to make this thing. So that is why you cannot determine quality. But if they are fully licensed and the regulator is on them and is done properly.
If they are regulated.
Of course, the regulator will do a laboratory test of whatever product they have. And the ones that are not fit for consumption will be discarded. So by and large, what I feel is there is no way we'll be importing this product and meet up with the logistics demand. We'll always run into scarcity because of the very nature of the exports and then the human factor in it, where some people like to create this scarcity because they make more money. Sometimes they are telling you that they are going on strike. The Association of Tanker Drivers, NUPENG, different organizations, stakeholders, They just sometimes will tell you, we just want to go on one strike or the other. Or this particular one, we don't even know the cost. The latest one now. I don't know the cost. I have read, tried to find out what the
But
I've
I
not
dare
seen
say
any-
it appears to be easing up.
Yes, it's easy enough because from yesterday, we now have it.
Yeah.
But 2 days ago, 3
Oh,
days ago, and then
I understand you.
the whole of last week, from midweek last week to this point, there was scarcity. And it boggles the mind because we have these resources in abundance, but we cannot manage it. I don't know why we
Yeah.
cannot manage it.
Okay, Evans is not speaking for you, but I know you religious people will say things like, God is blessing Nigeria, or God has blessed Nigeria. But the question remains, has Nigerians blessed God? If you understand what I mean. I mean, we should not be living beggarly lives. Near 64 years into our flag and anthem independence.
You know, that's that's peculiarity of our nation, the peculiarity of our country, and the peculiarity of our cultural
So
value.
now like this we go the day.
You know, it might not be continuous, but that's the peculiarity of our foundation, the peculiarity of our culture. You know, the peculiarity of who we are as a people. You know,
That's the way we are.
That's who we are. That's our That's who we are. That's what the way we are driven ourselves to be. That is not the way God created us, but that's the way we are driven ourselves to be. Now, when we talk about the PMS, you look at what's the foundation of PMS. Look at where are we getting the PMS from. Talk about the crude oil. All right. You see what happened to the refinery, in Kaduna, in the Port Harcourt. It's like the dead and the worry. And so it's like the dead man is it's like being resurrected after the fasting, and there's been a lot of positive resurrection. But beyond the resurrection of those refinery, the question is, where is the production coming from? And where is the generation coming from? And where is the consumption coming from? The production is coming from Nigeria. The generation is coming from Nigeria. All right? The manufacturing is coming from Nigeria. And the consumption is also coming from Nigeria. So, how come in the element of who we are as a people, we are now taking out our production out of the consumption and out of the generation into another system, and we're expecting that same system to balance? We are deceiving ourselves.
Okay, consider this. We push out by choice crude oil in its raw form. It comes back mainly as premium motor spirit, petrol, kerosene, and automated gas oil, AGO. Nobody is asking about the residue, the byproducts.
Now, you know, at the time
Do you get the
I
picture?
understand. No, at the time there was a time, you know, kerosene was all over the place, but now it's like it's a village man that is now using kerosene. It's like it's fading away.
I've forgotten what it looks like.
What it looks like, or what's the meaning of kerosene? You know, I'm sure some of the new Gen Z, if you ask them what's the meaning of kerosene, you say kerosene, is that the name of a person, animal, or place,
thing.
or things, so to say. You know, so we'll see that our nature as a people need to be corrected. Our foundation needs to be corrected. You know, if you don't understand who you are, then you don't understand the problem at hand. Because the problem is not coming from heaven.
Yeah. It's not
The queue, like he said, the queue is a man-made problem. All right? So if we have made the problem, that means we have the capacity to solve the problem. But the question is, are we ready to solve the problem? The answer is no. We are not ready based on our nature. We are not ready to face the problem and solve the problem. Even though we created the problem, at the same time we are running away from the solution of the problem. So we are expecting how Europe underdeveloped Africa. We are now pushing ourselves to that way. Even though Africa has underdeveloped Africa as of today, and Nigerians, we are now crying more than the bereaved. Even though we caused the bereaved to be a bereaved.
The bereavement. Yeah, see, let's leave the scarcity wahala for a while and talk about a more broad-based issue. The petroleum industry bill remains it remained so until August 16, 2021, when Buhari signed the bill into law. So we have the Petroleum Industry Act, as we sit here. And what it seeks to do is to provide legal governance and regulatory and fiscal development of host communities.
Yes.
So the Petroleum Industry Act is here.
Yes.
Is it a toothless bulldog too?
Well, it is not, that legislation is not screwed towards making an all year round availability. It is to address the offshore-onshore dichotomy and then change the nature of the NNPC from a corporation to a limited liability company. Before now, we had the law on petroleum, which was promulgated in 1962. And down to now, we now have the new law. Now, this new law seeks to cure the host community rivalry between those who have license to mine and the host communities, because it became a huge problem at some point. Now, that problem seems to have been addressed by that act. Okay, but we have bigger problems in that area, and that's logistics. The logistics of
Man-made, as Okwe said.
Yes, the logistics of it was not addressed by that legislation. And one would have thought that that legislation would have opened the floodgate for licenses to be granted to more indigents, just like the Cabotage Act, where indigenous participation in shipping and maritime business, the law was made to that effect to encourage them. This petroleum side of it, we were supposed to have that legislation address the issue of deregulation and license being granted to as many people as possible. Because now if you want to get a license, the requirements and conditions are too high, such that those who are now operating illegal refinery cannot meet up with those conditions. But
So
I
they
thought,
elect to go illegal,
yes,
which is tougher.
yeah, which is tougher and which is against the law. I had thought that that legislation would have been broad enough to solve the problem of host communities, oil companies, and also solve the problem of licensing.
Yes, sir, but the legislation, the Petroleum Industry Act, is like the ground norm, the Constitution. Yes, the 1999 Constitution, as amended, is vexed, but we talk about the spirit and the letter.
Yes.
So apply that to the petroleum industry law. If we go by the spirit and the letter of that law, would we still be here?
Yes, we will not be here, but when you are talking about the spirit and the letters, you also look at the issue of, if I'm going to talk about licensing, okay, if I'm going to talk about prospectus, oil prospecting and mining lease and those situations, you'll find out that it is only the big players that can meet up with the requirement. The law did not down-tune the requirements.
Yeah.
It is just as it used to be. It's just there. So you can only have the likes of Dangote and his likes to be able to acquire license.
And his cousins.
Yes, and then operate in a capacity that we give the nation ease in that area. Otherwise, you are left with the old boys who are in the business, who know how to manipulate the business and do all that. So if we are going to have a legislation, it should be thorough, given that we know it is tough to repeal laws in Nigeria and to have new ones. This Petroleum Industry Act we are talking about was in the National Assembly for
years.
For over, even before 1999. They left it off at the 1979 Parliament and picked it up in 1999 again and pushed it down. So it took over.
We kicked it down the road.
Yes.
Like a can.
Yes, for about 30 years, and we were deliberating on it. One would have thought that the lawmakers would have looked at all the issues the issues of licensing, the issues of logistics, all the governance issues and solve that problem once and for all. So that by the time you have the law, because immediately the law came out, there were issues already. They were already talking about another amendment. Immediately the law came out, we saw the lapses that they could have dealt with. So we started talking about another amendment of the same law itself. So because on the area of petroleum taxation, fantastic, it's fine. The area of production, you have that, but the area where you are supposed to open up the market to bring in more investors so that you can have competition, it's not really there.
Yeah, okay, quite apart from only the Yaradua late Yaradua Goodluck government had a minister of petroleum resources. Every other fellow, every other president had been in charge of petroleum, but we're still here. So it would mean that we are here is by choice, and we are not likely to move.
You nailed it already, in line with what I said earlier on. And talking about the legislative aspect and the acts and the PIA, like he said, you can see that the law is not our problem. We have so many laws. But
Giving teeth.
so having the law to do its work is another conversation. So we have a president who is in charge of the petroleum. Now the question is, how come the president is in charge of the petroleum? Legally, it's possible, but practically it is impossible. Can you be in Port Harcourt? Can you be in Warri? Can you be in Lagos at the same time? And you are still a sitting president. It shows that fundamentally something is wrong. So the challenges we are having, the critical challenge we are having, is beyond laws. Each time, that's why most time when I have conversation with the people in the legal sector, we do have counter motions and the rest, because I discovered that our solution is from the legal aspect, but the solution is not coming to us. So the solution is coming from the legal aspect. At the same time, the solution is not effective. So you can see that the challenges we are having is from the law also. Because you can like you said, you can see the background of the PIA, more than 30 years. And in the process of that 30 years, the entire process was no overhaul. It was the same thing that was presented on the table 30 years ago that was put into law as at 30 years after. So when it was enacted, what happened? We are looking for amendment again. So the president cannot and should not be the minister of petroleum. It doesn't matter which party. It doesn't matter. It is not possible. It's not practicable. There's something we call, when you have something like, you have allegation, we have a litigation, there are two things entirely. So some things can be right, but it's not practical.
Yeah.
So it might be right for him to be president, but it's not practicable.
Permit me to digress a little. As I know, as we all of us here know, Venezuela has the largest bitumen deposits in the whole world. The second largest is Nigeria. Yet we still import bitumen.
Yes, we're importing it by choice because for bitumen, the federal government have granted licenses to some companies to go mine within the southwestern region. Okay.
This must be a recent development.
Very recent. I have a client whom I was in the legal team that got that license. This is not. It's not up to 8 months. I'm just 8 months ago, and that he was granted a license with 2 other companies. But from the groundwork, it takes a lot to set up that process of getting the product out. Okay, so it's going to come a time when we will no longer be importing bitumen because licenses have been granted. Unlike before, where you take an application for it and even the Minister for Solid Minerals and all that is unable to process it for you. So you have to get through to him, to the president, and all that. So it's going to take some time, but that sector will be addressed. But that is not just the only kind of mineral resources we have. We have so many
I
others.
just dropped that.
Yes, even uranium.
Even lithium.
Yes,
Yeah.
so much of it.
The producer is telling me we have a limited time left. So, in taking this discussion home, how soon do you think we'll say bye-bye to importation of the premium motor spirit? Yes,
Well, we will say bye-bye to it when we answer the teething problems of production and availability. You see, because very soon we're going to enter into what they call energy crisis. When
At the rate we are going.
that's where we're going, that's the destination. And when we enter energy crisis, it doesn't matter how much you have, it will be frittered away. Because now we're building a monopoly. Dangote has already, is dishing out diesel already, which has touched the price a little bit. But when it gets, because as we speak, the Dangote refinery, federal government cannot even meet up with the obligation.
I hear Dangote is importing from
It's
America.
important even from America, yes. So if you look at, if you check what we produce today, it cannot even meet Dangote's requirements. So it tells you that when the time comes,
We're a long way from home.
a very long way from home. When the time comes, we'll run into an energy crisis when we fully drop off from importation. If we don't prepare the ground very well for this thing to run, we'll be more trouble when we stop importation than we are now.
Okay, how do you bury this?
Close your economy for the next 2 years. Look inward. Build capacity. As of today now, like he said, Dangote and independent petroleum marketers are having a meeting now as we speak. They are trying to compel him into the price they want. But in the international market, they could not compel the international market into their own price.
Obviously, you cannot now.
You cannot. So you can see the challenge. So it's we against we. And you want the market to grow. And you want the market to be liberalized. Is that visible?
So, sometimes you wonder if, look at Nigeria as a 64-year-old man who still finds it hard to start.
There's no guarantee that a 64-year-old man will be sensible at any point in his life. Yes, he can decide not to be useful to himself.
So after 40 years, you can be a fool forever.
Yeah, people
Well,
can
it's a
by
choice.
choice now.
It's a choice.
Yes, if we have chosen to be that way, we are going to bear the consequences of that. The people who lead us should come up with the right policy, and those who follow should demand for the right policy.
Because it is possible.
Yes.
Very possible.
Okay then, we terminate the discussion here, but not to say the debate cannot continue from your part of town. For me, I think petrol queues resurfacing in Lagos is needless, especially at this time. My country, your country is 64 years old, but that a 64-year-old country cannot begin again is something I fight to ingrain, So, but let's thank Okpoluwa Taiwo for coming. Thank you, Okpoluwa.
Good to be here.
It can only get better.
It can only get better. We'll demand for it to be better. It
Okay.
will be better.
Barrister Vance Ufeli, many thanks for your
It's
time.
my pleasure.
So I'm out of here on behalf of the Backroom Boys. This is yours sincerely, Citizen Jones Hussein, saying bye-bye now. Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.